In today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 charts that I think do a pretty good job of showing us how the Toronto and GTA real estate market has progressed so far and where we have been within the most immediate months. And as always, as we go through these charts, we're going to talk about tons of other stuff as well relating to the Toronto and GTA real estate market. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sam, a Toronto and GTA real estate agent who actively works across the Toronto and GTA real estate areas. On this channel, we like to discuss everything having to do with the Toronto and GTA real estate market stats, market reports, graphs, and charts such as these we're going to discuss today, building reviews, pre-construction previews, buyer advice, seller advice, area analysis, and so much more. So feel free to find my contact information on the screen and in the description box. Lastly, if you enjoy this video, find it informative, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. And there's a link to my newsletter in the description box. I share across these graphs and charts in preparation for these videos and when I do research for clients as well in that WhatsApp newsletter, 100% anonymous. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get to the points of today's video, which are these 3 charts that I really want to discuss. And they do a really good job of putting things in perspective, whether we're talking about listings, sales, prices. These 3 charts I'm going to discuss that are pulled straight from the TREB resale market report. They compare 2023 year to date as is to the 3 preceding years, namely here, obviously, 2020, 2021, and 2022. The first chart is going to be with regards to listings. Second chart is going to be with regards to inventory. And lastly, we're going to finish the video with regards to prices. Starting out, let's start with the sales chart. And you can see a little bit more with regards to what I'm talking about, how these charts illustrate 2023 as signified by the gray bar versus 2022, 2021, and 2020. Orange for 2022, blue for 2021, and green for 2020. And we see for most of the year so far, sales across the GTA have been pretty low. This is whether we're talking about earlier in 2023 when we were seeing lower inventory months, or whether it's as of most recently where inventory across the GTA has actually increased. Regardless of how inventory has been doing so far in 2023, and we'll get to that obviously, we're going to cover the inventory chart, sales have been relatively low. The only months so far in 2023 that have seen higher sales figures across the GTA have been May, June, and July of 2023 compared to obviously May, June, July of 2022. But that's nothing impressive because May, June, July of 2022 were probably historically the lowest months in terms of transactions and sales actually occurring. That's when the interest rate hikes were kind of new. People didn't really know what to expect. Due to the recency of the interest rate hikes at that time, sellers were very unreasonable at the time. Buyers at the time thought the market was going to crash 30%, so they kept waiting. This led to kind of a gridlock where no transactions were happening. Well, of course, in 2023, these 3 months, May, June, and July, as you guys can see from the bar graphs, have been higher than 2022, but once again, that is nothing really exceptional. We're comparing sales to the lowest months we've seen in most recent memory. Whereas compared to 2021 and 2020, every month year to date so far in 2023, we have seen less sales occurring across the Toronto and GTA real estate market versus those 2 years, with the exception of 2 months, which I will address right now. If you pay close enough attention, we see that the only months where in 2023 sales exceeded non-2022 years were in April and May of 2023, where sales in 2023 for April and May were higher than 2020, as once again illustrated in the green bar. Well, there's a twofold explanation for that. First and foremost, April and May of 2020, I don't know if you remember, but that's when the worldwide event we know as the pandemic was brand new. That was a time where the market completely overreacted, and for 2 months, April and May, everything went to a halt. And once again, you have to understand this was a new thing at the time worldwide. We have gotten used to it now, but at the time, a lot of scary notions existed. So that's one reason why 2023 sales for those 2 months were higher, because the real estate market just came to a screeching halt. Another reason why sales in 2023 were higher than those 2 months on top of that is because 2023 so far, by most metrics, the peak of the Toronto and GTA real estate market has been April and May of 2023. This is when we look at sales, prices, days on market. Really, the peaks of the market across the GTA real estate market has been April April and May. And once again, I just don't speak from the numbers speak for themselves, but in April and May, I was mostly working on the selling side and we were selling things really well. Now what I'm seeing in terms of transactions in buildings when I'm working on the behalf of buyers and I'm keeping an eye on buildings, streets here and there, I'm seeing sales come way lower than they were coming in April and May. And once again, in my previous video, I mentioned how I sold a property early in 2023 for much higher than I sold the one right next to it just recently. And once again, that was an example of a really good sale happening now. I can't imagine the bad sales now and how they compare to April and May of 2023. Going forward, what to expect? Well, this is a bit tricky, right? It's always hard to predict the future, but I guess it becomes a little bit easier when we only have 2 months left. So in terms of sales, when it comes to November, I suspect November will kind of hold water. I suspect November will still come in a little bit lower than November of 2022. And of course, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to come a lot lower than November of 2021 and November of 2020. With regards to December, I suspect December might actually have a better shot of coming in a little bit higher than December of 2022. But once again, of course, much lower than the 2 preceding years, 2021 and 2020. Of course, these are always around the margins. It's either going to be marginally lower or marginally higher. Nothing significant either way. Now, let us transition to the listings chart. Now, the listings chart is a little bit more all over the place, but that's not a bad thing. It makes it a little bit more interesting. Off the bat, the thing I noticed was March 2020. I mean, that is everything a buyer can hope for. Look at that. Look at that tall blue bar graph right there. And I remember it quite well. The market was so active then. That is the most recent time in the last 3 to 4 years, I think, that we've actually exceeded 20,000 new listings in 1 month. Not active inventory, not active listings, but new listings. In terms of what we can take away from this chart for 2023, there's a couple of observations. First and foremost, we see clearly earlier in 2023 how low inventory was. Put aside January 2023, as you guys can see, January 2023 was on par with the last 3 years. January is the beginning of the new year. A lot of people are not making life-altering decisions or monumental decisions such as selling or buying in that month. But really from February to May, inventory was less than the 3 preceding years, putting aside, of course, once again, April and May of 2020, where I made that point with regards to why those numbers are so low for sales previously. Well, that same exact explanation applies here to the inventory. So putting those 2 months aside for 2020, inventory from February to May was very dire within the Toronto real estate market in 2023. But June, things started to improve a little bit. As you guys can see, inventory picked up a little bit, still less than the 3 preceding years, but on par. And then, as I covered on this channel and on my newsletters and across all other social media platforms, really starting from July, that's when inventory started to pile up and pile up and pile up. This is when the market really entered into a more and more of a buyer-friendly market. Just compare and contrast these inventory figures as designated by the gray bar so far in 2023 from July to really October to the previous chart we saw, where the gray bar for sales was far lower. This is where we see the surplus of inventory that has existed, and in contrast to the low amount of sales we just discussed, has been really pushing things once again from July to now into a very buyer-friendly market. And this has been reflected in prices. Of course, we're not going to leave this video without talking about prices. We're going to cover prices shortly and towards the end of the video. However, buyer-friendly markets are not just about price. Price is the most important thing. I know that. I understand that, whether you're a seller or a buyer. But a lot of other factors indicate buyer-friendly markets. Conditional sales, days on market, really how much time you can take to shop around. I mean, that time right now seems infinite, contrasting it to the peaks of market, not even in 2022, but even, as I said earlier, in 2023. Right now, buyers can actually afford to go see the same thing maybe twice to make a decision. And new inventory really did peak in June and of course in September. Those are the 2 highest new inventory months so far in 2023. Of course, for June, that was less than the 3 preceding years. For September, That has been more than the last 2 preceding years, but still less than 2020. Going forward towards the end of the year, November, December, I suspect new inventory to decline a bit more on a month-over-month basis, but I still think it will be higher than 2020 levels for both November and December. But it's once again really difficult to tell. Now let's get into the price chart. Now this chart is probably going to disappoint a lot of people, or if you're a seller out there, it's probably going to be good news to you. As we see from the price chart, off the bat, my first observation, and this is something I think I failed to actually discuss on this channel for once, is that 2023, in terms of October average sold price across the GTA, came in lower than the October 2021 figure, which surprised me. What also equally surprised me, and I covered this at the time, was that October 2023 figure came in higher than 2022. Same applies for September as well, and I covered this at the time as well. I suspect the September and October figures to be less than they are now. I'm surprised how well prices have actually held up, given the excess in listings and given the diminishment of sales. Of course, speaking of excess, we really do see how crazy the market got. I mean, this is a very good visual representation of how absolutely nuts the market got in 2022, as once again signified by the orange bar. Just take a look at the orange bar, January, February, March of 2022. I suspect we will not reach those levels for a very long time. Once again, keep in mind though, this is across the GTA, right? So in particular streets, particular buildings, even neighborhoods, it really depends. Every area has its own micro trend. Now, of course, it's not going to be completely detached from the larger market, right? But as always, when I sit down with sellers and they watch these videos, I don't give them this market-wide report. I give them a report on the particular street or neighborhood or building. Take a note of the August portion of this chart. This really does tell us something, right? For the last 3 years, this year inclusive, 2023, 2022, and 2021, we see that August really has been the no man's land in terms of pricing within the Toronto and GTA real estate market. If you want to neutralize all factors in terms of trends, buying in August has been the best option, I guess, in that perspective, right? Not from other perspectives, but in just simply being flush with the last 2 years. We see how even everything has been in August. Of course, 2020 is a little bit less than the last 2 years, but even then it's still in range. So in August, if you are selling, and I think this will apply to next year as well, right? I think when we see the 2024 bar graph for August, it's probably going to be in line. So if you're selling in August, that you shouldn't be really selling that much lower than you would have been selling or the comps have sold for, putting aside other adjustments, right? Of course, everything else being equal, you shouldn't be really selling much lower than you could have been in 2022 or 2021. Same thing if you're buying, right? You shouldn't be buying that much higher, right? Than you could have been purchasing. Once again, everything else being equal with the comparables, then you could have been purchasing in 2022 and 2021. Anyways, guys, that is it for today's video. This video has gone on long enough. There's so much more I want to talk about. If you guys have any observations, by the way, anything you see from these charts or graphs that I didn't pick up on or I didn't highlight in this video or my newsletter, feel free to comment and let me know. I'm always interested in your perspective and I can always learn from other people as well. As always, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate, Remax Realtron Realty Inc. Thank you very much for watching. My contact information in the description box. Get in touch. Hey, and if you need any help buying or selling, reach out to me. Let's have a discussion. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.